Hey, what's up? Welcome to The Power and the Punchline. This is where the power gets honest and the punchline actually means something. We talk leadership, culture, influence, and real life. No fluff, no filters. I'm Rudy Rush. Let's get powerful.
All right, so this is part 2 of the journey, the story of the prodigy, Mr. Rush. Queens, Harlem's finest.
Harlem world.
Harlem's finest.
That's right.
Is what he called himself.
Yes.
So you just listened to or just watched part 1 of these.
Yeah.
And we're releasing these same day. So it's not like you had to wait.
We doing the 2 in one day?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Because your story's too deep.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's too deep of a story.
Why don't you tell him the truth? Steve called and cursed me.
I mean, there might have been a phone call,
No.
But I think that's a great segue into part 2.
Oh, yeah.
And we're doing this authentic. We do a ton of research on everything we do, but episode or part 1 of that episode was so strong that I was like, hey, we need to finish the story. And so, that journey, man, we just left off with Showtime and the Apollo.
Uh-huh.
And for a lot of people, bro, like that would have been the peak. That would have been.
Oh, yeah. That's a career because some people. Yeah. I mean, even if they did nothing else after that, I think some people would say that was a great, you had a great run, but it's more to it.
There's more to it. So then what happened? What happened next? I know, you said you kind of were seeking mentorship and you were looking for that in some people. And
yeah,
did you think you were going to find it in radio?
No, I had no idea that I would. And it just came out of nowhere. After the Apollo run, which was, like filled with all types of feelings and uncomfortableness. And, it was just, it was the best and the worst of times, honestly, because, I'm on TV every week. So I'm being noticed and I'm getting access to things that I wouldn't before. And one of the things that I did get access to traveling around the country with the McDonald's Kids Tour, that's affiliated with the Apollo, is being on radio and interviewing and doing things like that. And television, I got a chance to do a small couple of stints in radio in Dallas. And then I got a big opportunity because if you're familiar with Doug Banks, late great Doug Banks out of Chicago. He's not from Chicago, he's from Detroit area, but he, made his bones in Chicago, really close and good friends with Tom Joyner, kind of came up in that crew. Yeah. And he had a morning show, and it was him, Ricky Smiley, Dee McGuire, who's doing really great in radio right now. So it was the 3 of them and a few other cast members and stuff like that. And then Ricky Smiley actually left the team to go off and do his own thing, which he's still doing right now. Shout out to him. So he knew his time was, to leave the show. How it started before I got on the show. As the host of the Apollo, every year, Dee and Doug will come to New York to do a taping at the Apollo. They would do a day or 2 and everybody would come out. And I'll always miss it because I'll be on tour. So I'll be like, man, that's my favorite show. I can't believe I'm saying that right now, but I actually had a favorite radio service. I just always wanted to meet them. They were on the radio in New York City as well. They were nationally known. And I was like, man, and then I happened to meet Doug at a Real Men's Cook, I guess it was an event for Real Men Cook, and he was there and I was there. We kind of hit it off, but no major fireworks, no come work for me. It was just like, hey man, I'm glad, you're doing what you're doing. Listen to you guys. I'm sorry I missed y'all at the Apollo. It was that kind of an exchange. Yeah. We move on, but then I ran into Dee in Las Vegas, hosted the McDonald's Kids Tour. And sure enough, just the conversations from that and just them watching me, from afar and up close, because I did some radio. When they lost Ricky, they were like, well, this guy's pretty good. And, he was with Joe Soto. Big shout out to Joe Soto. That was my first radio gig. And then I also had a stint on the air with Cheryl Underwood that was hell on wheels, basically. And I'm glad Cheryl and I are super cool friends now, because it was just like, it got real ugly real quick.
Yeah.
But then we got older and, of course she has many blessings with the CBS gig and we see each other in New York and we kind of kissed and made up. So I was happy about that. But yeah, Doug was really my first big opportunity in radio, and they gave me a call. And people don't know this, at the same time that Doug offered a gig with ABC Radio, Doug was let go, or at least they were taken off in New York. You know how syndication goes. So they move in different directions. And Vinnie Brown, shout out to Vinnie Brown, because Vinnie Brown, who was the program director at the time, who had people like Doug, Wendy Williams. He had a really big roster over there. And they approached my agency and they wanted me to take over for Doug in New York because I had sat in and I'd done so well that they were very, and they offered a lot. I said at the same time, Doug and those guys were offering, a little less. But for me, it was like, I'm going to learn from the best, sitting with them. They're nationally known. I'm a comedian. I can benefit from that, do my shows on the, instead of being in New York and can't promote in Kansas City, can't promote in, in Chicago. Well, with Doug, I can. Yeah. So what I was going to do is I was like, take that opportunity. So anyway, I started working with them and it was like instant chemistry. I mean, it was the best time, especially initially. And like we said before in the last episode, Doug represented that one older, brother-like, uncle-like, father-like figure that was like, he would do interviews. And I mean, it still, sits with me now that he would be like, Rudy knows how to get in and get out. He knows the timing of it. And I really felt like I did. You know what I mean? He gave me all the confidence just to be exactly what I wanted to be. And I thought I took full advantage of it and it was great.
That's amazing. Everything in radio ain't always fun.
No.
And let me say that different. The business of radio and sometimes the human resources, the HR of radio aren't always what it's cracked up to.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that for people. And I think it's twofold. I think we start with the business of radio before we actually go into the HR radio.
Yeah.
So for people that are watching, and I know a lot of times now we're streaming more, right? Like some people will say that radio is a dying media breed, but then there's others that will tell you it is still the king of media, especially when you talk about advertisers and sponsors. So talk about the business of radio.
Yeah, the business for radio for me, it was very interesting. And people, if you ever get a chance to be in radio, which a lot of people don't get, but it's really like, it's a lot of things that go along with it. Proper management, sales, relationships are very big in radio. And, I had a great time working with Doug, but, it didn't go without its fair share of controversy or headaches and stuff, especially as close as we were. Just imagine, I was with them more than I was with my family. You know what I mean? I'm there every morning with them. And, I don't know how many people, some of us were, some of us weren't, you know what I mean? So you had to deal with that aspect, traveling with each other. Somebody has an attitude or somebody's getting more money. Like there's all types of things that can bring, uncomfortableness, but we had some of the best times too. But some of the things that I kind of, got from radio early on, even working with Doug at ABC, it was just like some characters there that if people are not, responsible for your success or they just have something that they want to control, they can. I remember getting paid very well to start with Doug, but I told you I took a huge pay cut to come work with him because I wanted to learn under the best. And it was working for me. But man, I was still living off of some of my Apollo fame and money and stuff like that. So I was fine. The checks I was getting, I appreciated it, but we just added to just being able to do whatever I wanted to. And like I said at the time, I still had no kids, but I was expecting a child and my first, and I'm building this house. And let me tell you, people from the hood always tell you, I got two cars. I got the one I drive to work, and then I got my car. Because I don't want them seeing me at work with this, and then they going to start acting funny. You think that's, goes in one hand out the other. But, honestly, in a lot of cases, I don't care if you're black, white, Hispanic. Like, you know what? The haters go ahead. And I was such a nice guy at work. I wanted everybody to have a good time and love each other and stuff like that. So I was like, you know what I'm going to do? It's my first year in this big old house. I'm going to have a 4th of July barbecue. My mom is here. She's going to cook. And let me tell you, one of those, directors or executives came by the house with his family. And the first thing he said when he stepped out of the car was like, we paid you too much. And, I was quick to let him know, like, this ain't ABC money. This is all, I'm Rudy Rush. I'm Apollo. I'm Def Comedy Jam. I'm here. I'm ready. You guys are just, paying for the paper plates. Whether it was the house or just my performance, which I doubt that very seriously. We were like number one. I didn't get, my contract was just, I was just at a stalemate with them for a long time until, things kind of fizzled and Doug had to leave the agency and we went along with him. So I was with Doug for 8.5 years. Like I said, it was full of fun and things like that. And unfortunately, the reason why Doug and I parted ways because Michael Bazin, if you remember, he left and there was an opportunity for Doug to get more markets, meaning taking some of the markets that were left over by Michael Bazin. So somebody convinced him, didn't know who they are, that Doug should let me go and take on George Wilborn, which was a big mistake, but they thought it would work because George is from Chicago. Worst mistake they made. And, I'm talking freely now like that because you know what? It's one thing to do things and I thought Doug did the right thing for him to make the money and move in the direction where, you know what? Even some teams in sports, you got to let Herschel Walker go so you can get Michael Irvin and the boys in there and win some championships. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so that's how I took it. As much as I didn't like it, 8.5 years, that's my family. That's all I know. Like, there was some trepidation, there was some fear, but at the same time, I wasn't mad at Doug. I was just kind of funky on how they did it. I really was. But anyway, moving forward, I got an opportunity right away. Not right away, honestly. I left him in April, and during the year, I was working with ESPN, and they were trying to develop a show on the sports network. That didn't go through, so I fly to California and I'm in Cali on my buddy's couch, sitting on the set with Kevin Hart and those guys at Paramount when they're shooting The Husbands of Hollywood and all this other stuff. And this is mid to late 2013. Then I get the phone call. My man Doc Winter calls me and he's like, yo, we starting up a new station in Houston. I loved you on Doug's show. I think you're great. I think you could do this by yourself. So I'm off to Houston. And I'm in Houston in afternoons. Number one for 5 years. That was a great time, but it was a lonely time because I was out there and I started, dating again and starting another, family, subtracting the one I had, which is my daughter, but her mother now no longer together. So, having another baby, coming in my second after 10 years, my oldest is turning 10, but I'm out here by myself because even the young lady I was dating was in Dallas. So I'm driving back and forth. I'm just doing all these things and just kind of keep everybody happy. It was a tough time, even though I was doing really well in radio. So that was cool. But then again, here comes that monster again. Program directors, many managers, and I know they have a job to do, but it was sometimes the worst thing. And like I said, I got my list of quotes from these brothers and sisters that, unlike, it's much like the comment, we're paying you too much. Yeah. I got a program director that comes in after 2 years, me being number one from this. I'm making historic numbers. Okay. You can go back and check that if you think I'm playing, but instead of him coming in saying, and you don't have to come in and say, oh man, you're Rudy Rush, blah, blah, blah. But recognize what I'm doing. And obviously I'm doing it well. And if you feel me, and you know me now well enough to know, like, if there's something I need to learn, if there's something I need to do, I'm going to do it. Yep. So come in with that attitude, like, yo, I heard you. I feel we could get better with this and this and that to really take you. And maybe we can, sell me a dream. We can go national. We can bring a TV show, something that makes it, good for you and I to kind of get along. First thing this brother says, man, yeah, I was downstairs in sales. Them ladies like me, man, down there. I'm going to have to keep you from down there. I'm like, what does that have to do with me? There's nobody saying, oh, he flirts with this one. They all see my lady when they come into town, my kids and all. So I felt like, that got us off on the wrong foot. I had a bad situation with iHeart, actually. And, it's all people's perspective. Doug passed away. I'm going to Dallas, not only for the funeral, but to also bring my youngest into the world, she's being born in Dallas. So I asked, not the guy who said that, because everything was, you don't understand. This is Mr. No. I was going home. I just needed to help Doug's crew stay afloat. They had lost Chicago. And then I jumped on just for a couple of weeks. They were trying George Wilborn, Sinbad. It just wasn't a correct fit. Those guys are super talented, but it just maybe money wise, I don't know what it was. But I came in and I sat in, and what they realized is that during my time in Houston, I gained not only the comedic skills that I already had, but I got some broadcasting skills now. I know how to turn the mic, all the things that Doug taught me
Yeah.
indirectly Mr. Miyagi me,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
it was crazy. But then, you know, after some time, after Doug passing, they were like, yo, Rudy needs to be that guy. So they offered me the gig. They offered me Doug's show. And Rick Doug's show, the craziest thing about it was that I told him, I said, I'm loyal to Houston.
James Harden told us about Houston.
Oh, Onyx. No, let me tell you something about Onyx.
What were you loyal to?
Yeah, man, that 1,200 I was getting.
James Harden told us.
1,200 a week. Well, no, not 1,200 a week. 1,200 a month I was getting from Onyx to broadcast live from there. I got free wings, drinks, and I had been telling young ladies, I'm making money too. I can't give y'all no money. But you can sit here, you can talk to me, you know? Yo, man. So Houston was a blast, but I really didn't dive in like I could have. You know, if I was a little more single, and I'm just not saying just for the ladies, just for me to be able to be out. Because when I was there, I was just, you know, in my place and just whatever. Anyway, I tell these guys, listen, I can't do Doug's show because, you know, I'm loyal to you. You don't have to leave there. You could stay there. I said, well, Doug's show comes on from 2 to 6. My show's from 2 to 6. Oh, you could record at 12 to 2. So what I did was I gave her, my contract was up. I could have walked. I said, no, you know what? Give me the same base you gave me before, which I know you and your, you know, your regime wouldn't allow that. They would, you know, we would go get some more money. But I said, let me use the studios, studios to the other show. You let me use the ISDN lines and you do the other show. So I said, you know, and this is another thing that goes back to the Apollo days. I'm repping myself because I feel everybody's going to steal from me. Like I'm handling my own. I'm saying yes and no. And that's not the way to go, you know. And even though they tell you they don't want you to have an agent and lawyer and all, you have to, because somebody needs to be the bad guy. You can't. So it was a big to do. Two guys started talking across the table, and they brothers. I'm sorry, but they did that. And they said, how much y'all paying him? And then they ran it up the poll to the higher ups, and they found out how much it was a substantial amount, over $500,000 between the two shows. And life changing for my family, back where I'm accustomed to being, even more so, you know? And they were trying to keep me from doing both of them. And I got a lawyer. I always livid that I got a lawyer. I said, nobody's speaking on my behalf, and I'm trying to tell you what I'm trying to do. You guys are telling me I can't have. I had a young lady in there interning for me. Oh, you can't have somebody in the studio that's not an employee. Meanwhile, the show's down the hallway. One guy's got his wife working on the board, and she's not an employee. It's his show. So there was all kinds of things of that nature. So it was a lot of bad blood, some conversations that should have been had with my manager and the higher ups. I had to have it. So there was some feelings, though you're not being honest. Some people don't want to be called a liar. That's what it was. You know what I mean? So, and I felt bad about it because the one person that I did kind of go at it with, I really liked him. You know, it wasn't about that. It was just handling the business in the way, you know, I'm like looking at everybody like I'm being attacked. So anyway, that's what happened with that situation. But then shortly after that, I get called to come and replace who else? They're taking Steve Harvey off in Dallas. Not this again. Not the Steve Harvey thing again.
You've already made up, though.
No, we already made up.
Right.
But no, this is something that was in the air with Steve, and the station wanted to go in a different direction at the time. So they got me to come from Houston, and I broke my contract. And in Houston, like I said, the blood was so bad that they were like, okay, yeah, go ahead. And it wasn't like the show was failing on that end, but it was just so much residual from that time. They were like, and they didn't give me 5 years I was there, no going away. And it was like, oh, it felt bad. I still got some feelings about that because I did a lot there. Kids, events, quinceañeras, volleyball games, donation for people who had eye surgery because they couldn't afford. Like, we're all family. It's a nice place. Anyway, so all of that happened. And I'm going to tell you how I got out of Houston, really. It was the town hall meeting. I'm going to put this out there. The president had one of the ladies who brings her kids around and watch them kids grow up. They always come in the studio. He pulls a little girl up on stage and asks her, he was like, hey, you like to hear? She said, I love to hear. I love everybody here. He said, who's the coolest guy here? And she thought she was going to say him. And she said in front of everybody, Rudy Rush. I was like, I'm out. Wow. I was like, I'm gone. And, you know, he can say, oh, I don't even remember that. He's going crazy. that's kind of what happened. So anyway, I come to Dallas, or the situation of a lifetime. Steve Harvey is the staple in Urban AC morning show.
Yep.
And he's being taken off, and the domino effect may start with the show that I am a part of, which is called The Morning Rush. Now, my colleague, my in-person, my co-host, who I am all about women empowerment, because I work with Dee, so I know how well it could be, the dynamic between a man and a woman on the air, going back and forth, or, you know, just speaking from the perspective. But they hired Claudia Jordan. And, you know, I didn't have a problem with Claudia. Claudia, I really didn't know. I knew who she was, but I'm not a, you know, histories and the messiness, because she's a reality-based person. So you know that reality base, it's just started to simmer down. Before, back then, it was like the Wild Wild West. People were throwing, you know, drinks in each other's face and fighting and all this other stuff. And she, you know, I should have knew something was going on, because one of her requirements was like, well, don't call me no hoe on the air. I was like, well, why would I do that?
Right.
You know what I mean? But she had some baggage, and she was being told things which she didn't realize. She was being told things, honest things about the show, that it would be more hers. But I was there for the meeting. I'm the one that said it should be The Morning Rush. You know, your time to speak and operate in the sense of, so as soon as we got there, we were in trouble out of the gate. She was upset because, you know, she found out some financial things. She thought we should be paid the same. I'm like, I worked really hard. It's not about a male or female. If you worked in radio for 20, you know, all these years, and you were number one, then I can only, you know, step to the side and say, yeah, you know, either we get equal billing because I did the same thing, or I got to come in and be your co-host, you know? And so it was a problem, which turned into an HR situation. And we talked about that briefly. You know, there were some pictures being shown, which is, you know, people say the word sexual harassment, use the term, excuse me, and they think that it's somebody trying to like sexually get with you physically or whatever. But sometimes it boils down to, you know, crossing barriers that you shouldn't cross. And, you know, women sometimes, and ladies, you know, if you're a social media public figure, women get some of the most dirty pictures, you know, and some of them say they have a choice to open it. But anyway, she was showing male body parts in the studio, and I didn't like it. And finally, after the third time she did it, I had to go to HR, which I found out about HR the hard way. HR is not, they're there to help, but they're there to help the best interests of the company. They'll make you feel like they're taking care of you. They moved me from that show, took me off a show with my name, and I moved it from 33, where Steve was before he left, and plus to 18, and we were climbing, and went to Dee Dee's, where she was 3-4. They were doing well. They were doing good. I brought them to number one, and I got all of the checks to prove when we got our bonuses.
So how does the show go to number one? When you say those numbers, what does that mean?
So, you know, in the ratings. So, you know, when they do all the urban shows, whether it's Urban AC or if it's hip hop shows, but basically all of those shows in that demographic, and the other morning shows, the Spanish show, the other, the pop shows, you know, like what's the cue and what's the numbers for the show. And we went to number one, we were number one, number two the time I was there.
And so it's measuring listener traffic.
Absolutely.
Listener traffic.
Yes. And so we did that. And so, not to say I'm a king of that, but I've never been out of the top 5, forget top 10. And so, you know, with that, I just assumed honestly that when my contract was up for renegotiation, or just not even a renegotiation, to pick up the extension, this is during COVID, and we gave back 20% of our pay or whatever. Long story short, they didn't take the option. And the funny thing about it is, okay, I'm Rudy Rush.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you. I was like, oh, I could jump on the tour. I'll call somebody, get on the stage, whatever. That's what. It's September 10th, 2020. The world is shut down. There's nothing open. There's nobody flying, nothing. So now I'm in trouble. Long story short, a year later, not even a year later, in June, my oldest daughter's mother passes away. So my father passed in 2019. These things happen at work. My relationship is going down the tubes. So now my oldest daughter's mother passes, and like now I'm in trouble. And so it took me years. I started, you know, I used my savings, all the things that I could do to keep everything, fought for my oldest daughter to come. She didn't want to come. She wound up coming like 2 years later. But I started working with Bill Bellamy, and you know, the funny part is, you know, he called me and was like, yo, you need to borrow some money. I was like, nah, but if you could take me on the road, maybe I can earn my space. Yeah. I'm all about earning it. You know what I'm saying? And so now we're here. I mean, funny, like, you know, those years, and you know, working with Bill was cool, but it's just like, you know, being a headliner myself, it was very hard because the pay is not well for features and stuff like that. And that money was doing nothing more than buying toothpaste for me, honestly, you know, compared to, you know, when you're making $500,000 a year or you make it 250, whatever it is.
You're not saying Bill was cheap.
No, at all. No, no, no.
You're saying
the pay is cheap.
there you go.
He, you know, if he has something to do with it, I'm sure he would give me ample cheap. He has a family too, I guess. He got to feed his family. So
There you go. There you go. So this is the story of Rudy Rush.
yeah. It's pretty, you know, the funny thing about it is like, there's a lot of excitement in it, but it's a lot of, you know, one thing I did through all this, I had to learn, you know what I mean? And it goes to boundaries and things like that. Like, you know, I have to shout out my therapist, who was actually my couples therapist. Yeah, well, you too. My couples therapist
Did my job.
she called me after a couple years and she was like, my husband and I, we were wondering about you and wanted to call and see if you was all right. And in my mind, I'm thinking like, oh, she knew I was right, you know, whatever, because you think you always want to be the right person. But let me tell you, this woman and her husband became my support team. I told her like, hey, I can pay you, but can't eat this week. That's where I'm at with it. And she was like, no, we're gonna do this as, you know, it's free, and you just give us a love offering when you get back on your feet. And one thing that they did, which kind of really choked me up, I was performing with Bill, and it was the second show. I did Baltimore and I did really well. So he was like, oh man, we had a really good 1-2 punch. I mean, super, right? I didn't use a step. And so we go to Houston, and in Houston, they took a bus from Dallas to Houston, and anybody ride the bus, 4-hour bus ride is a bus ride.
Yeah.
That's you know, Dr. King and Rosa Parks, you do that. Yeah. You know, you don't do that just in case, you know, yeah, it was time every time. Yes. And so a long bus ride just to come to the improv, and they, you know, they're older couples, so they don't get on internet like that. So they knew I was a comedian, but not to what extent. And I performed my butt off that night. Like I said, I'm on a mission. So, you know, and it was just a beautiful thing to see the people online for the second show, see me see them. And like I said before, I'm looking for this thing my whole life for support and family. Like it felt like my aunt and my uncle came. I was choked. They was choked. The people online was crying. They waited for after the second show to be like, we was outside and we saw you all good and they all good. You all good. I was like, oh my gosh, man, made me cry again. I was like, so, you know, even with working with Bill, like, you know, I wrote a book, and I met a gentleman who helped me write it. And it's all about, you know, just the perseverance, because, you know, there's a lot of men taking themselves out. And I was in that place, not suicidal, but I have to be honest. For the first time, I felt so uncomfortable with the fact that I understood suicide more than I ever could before. You know, I always used to be somewhat of a hypocrite. Why would you check out on your kids? You know, boom, boom, boom. But I never knew the dynamics of you could be lied on or taken and misused, or your kids kind of, you know, go to one side and believe someone else's story, and that, you know, they saw you every day. How can they come up? And so it helped me in a lot of ways, which even helped me to meet you to say, hey, man, you know, this young dude is like, it was an energy thing. I was like, man, he could show me something that the space that I'm in, around the people that I'm around right now, to come back and have my own. Not come back and be back in the circles, but come back and have my own circle. He'll show me how to find that. And I appreciate that. And that's why we're here now.
No, man, I appreciate you. You know, we go back to that story. We talked about it in episode 1 a little. Just, you were someone I looked up to, right? Like, you spent some time in the Carolinas, right? Like, you were proud to talk about being in the Carolinas sometime.
Low country player of the week. I scored 60 points in 2 games. They still in the books.
Like, what are you telling you? So he's 13, playing 12 and 13. But you're in the record books, though.
I am in there.
Shout out to Rudy, athlete for sure.
Yeah.
But, you know, I was so just touched by your humility, because, again, you are the prodigy, right? Like, this episode, part 1 and 2 is all about the Rudy Rush story that's been written so far, because the story's not complete, right? But we're always writing our story. Just how humble you were, because again, that night, man, I was like, wait, is that the Rudy Rush?
Yeah.
Because, you know, when you put the in front of somebody's name, right? I was like, is that the Rudy Rush jumping up on stage? Like, okay.
Yeah.
As the host.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This show is about to be fired.
Live, and I made sure that's the one thing I did. Right, I went out with a bang because I said, well, they don't get 2 headliners on this show. They don't even know it, and now they added one out of that. Yeah. So we have Bill had a great situation going on, and we got along super well. And things started happening, and I was like, I gotta go in a different direction. It had to end at some point. So I'm glad to be able to just rock with him, and now doing some other stuff.
Y'all cool, right?
Yeah, we good.
We ain't got to have therapy, like part 1.
Nah, I'm gonna let him step in. I'm gonna let him step on the couch. We good. Ain't no furniture being moved. We good.
Everybody good. So speaking of being good, is there anyone else that we need to say, Ruth?
Oh, nah. There's a few people who say my name and don't say it to my face, and I would never confront them because unless you say it to me, I don't know that you really do have a problem with me. But, there's a gentleman who works with Bill, and, they're going to get on me this again because I said something on, Godfrey has a podcast. And I went on Godfrey's podcast, and he was talking about joke thieves and all this other stuff, and this gentleman was stealing my jokes. And I'm saying that
joke stealing real?
It's a thing.
Because,
no,
I on the stage before you. Hey, I just borrowed it. You can still use it.
So this is the thing for me. And let me explain my position because I'm not the aficionado. Like I'm not the police of the joke stealing. And I'm never 30 years I've confronted. This is the second time. The first time I was maybe 22 when I said something to somebody, and I
hurt my feelings too. I didn't steal your joke, man. It was a family reunion.
Nah.
And I wanted to just say, you did them out there. I was like, first episode, man.
He stole one of my lines on the first episode. That if you bring that up, I ain't saying nothing, but you must have watched the tape. It was like, he said that. No, this guy, Skeet Carter, man, I'm going to say his name because it's just, I had a lot of respect for him. And this is just the thing. Because D.L. Hughley said he doesn't know one comedian who hasn't stolen. I have similar jokes to a few comics. And even when we're on the show together, we understand that there's a code. You don't use it. Or you talk about it if you need to use it. You know what I'm saying? That's really the key.
Honor amongst comedians.
Yes, absolutely. Like, Rudy's got a dog joke. I got a dog joke. Let me ask him if he's going to use it. Or I'm just not going to use mine, so I don't have to ask him. If he uses it, use it.
Yeah.
So that was the thing. But my whole thing was this. We was on tour with Bill for maybe we've done about 12 shows. You can't tell me after the 6th show that we have things in common. Like, you can't. I'm sorry. I didn't see it 1 through 5, now show 6 through 12. You know what I'm saying? Now we're doing similar on the same show, and I approached it the proper way. But then, Bill and those guys are, you should go on a social media or platform. I'm like, I spoke to them already. You guys just want me to amp up the ante and then come harder. Now we're fighting them and establishing that I'm not going to be able to come back to. You know what I mean? Oh, Rudy likes it. Because that's the only place to call him out or be on stage. Now you saw the night you were there, that was the guy that I brought on stage, and they didn't talk to me that night, which was funny, but I ain't expecting to be happy after that. I'm saying that, but there's a professional aspect that you have to have. You come into a building, you speak or whatever. I said, what's up? They walk past me. So I should go up on stage and be like, hey, coming to the stage. This next dude, you might hear a few of my jokes and everybody else's. I'm like, but I don't do that.
Right.
I was
there. You did not.
No, I brought him up, and you guys you gave him his accomplishments and gave him some love, told everybody what he was doing. You got to be able to shift gears, even if you feel somebody's done wrong. But I don't feel like I did wrong. I felt like I spoke in defense of my integrity of what I've built for over 30 years. And like I said, the problem I had with Bill was co-signing on them. You telling me what side of the fence you on. That's what's up, man. And, I ain't got no love lost, but at the same time, that's what's up. So I had to exit and take myself out of that situation and get out that, sir.
Can time heal it?
No, it's already healed. Like, I'm all right.
You want Skeet good?
If I see Skeet and Skeet wants to have a conversation or say what's up, I could do that. But we'd probably never be friends because of the fact that he feels, and even after watching this, they're going to feel some type of way. And you can't stop people from feeling some type of way, especially if they're not in the right. And I don't care what anybody says. I feel like I'm in the right.
Joke borrowing, joke thievery.
Yep.
I think you're right. Like, you can have respect and not have to be friends.
No,
you
you're
have respect and have service. So I'm going to say this because, that's what I think. That's what I think. Skeet, Rudy. Respect.
Nah, listen, I was mad too because we would joan back and forth all the time and stuff like that. And I took a picture of his shoes. I wanted to put it online and say something funny, but that had happened. So I was like, I can't do that because then it's a fight. You know what I'm saying? Talking about me?
Yeah.
But no, I wish him all the best. And I just can't be a part of that. I can't work with you anymore. If it's up to me, I won't. And if somebody paying me enough, I'll get on the show with anybody. You know what I mean? But at the same time, if someone asks me and my opinion matters, then I'm not working with it to do.
There it is.
Yeah.
So I want to go into, before we get to this top 5, I want to go into the art of joke telling, storytelling. Because anyone that has seen Rudy live, when he brings it, which is all the time, you hurt. Your jaw's hurt, your stomach hurt, your neck hurt. You probably sit beside somebody slapping him, so your shoulders hurt.
Yeah.
But there's an art, man. Like, I do a lot of speaking, and I tell people that are speaking or want to be speakers, man, speaking is nothing but stories and points. Les Brown taught me never tell a story without making a point, and never make a point without telling a story. And I think that's also some of the art to joke tell, storytelling on that side.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that I know as a speaker, I've seen you do this with different bits that you have. You've got to know how to tell a story in 60 seconds, maybe the 3-minute version of that story. And if the energy is good, maybe the 5-minute, or how to make that and keep coming back to it.
Yeah.
And you do that, man, like better than anyone that I know. Talk to us about just the art of comedy.
Man, the art of comedy I had to learn through the fire in New York City, one of the hotbeds of comedy, and a time where it was the Def Jam era. So everything was on a high level. I mean, any night you could be on stage with Chris Tucker, Dave Chappelle, anybody could be walking through that club on that stage, Tracy Morgan, just to name a few. And so I learned by just watching, I always, and still have the habit, I watch every show. Like even when I'm the headliner, I watch, at least if we're doing a weekend, I got to watch the first couple of shows just to get the rhythm, see what the crowd, how they're breathing in and out. You know what I'm saying? That's a real important thing to me. That's why I'm so successful, because I watch the crowd and I'm like, okay, they like that. Oh, they don't like that. Or I would have done this that way. But even though you got 1,000 personalities, there's some common thing that makes them move together. And I know I sound a little crazy saying that, but that's really what it is. It's like a quarterback who could slow down the field while all of these 400-pound guys running at 100 miles an hour trying to knock your block off. You take a breath and you breathe. You know what I mean? I never learned how to breathe being an actor. I always felt uncomfortable in that space, but as a comedian on that stage, I am grandmaster. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's Rudy's top 5 today? So where are we going?
We talked about working with Claudia Jordan, and I'm going to do the top 5 women who I approached to work with me, and they said no. Work. Yeah, work.
Like,
work. To be my co-host.
Oh, yeah.
You got not work. No, work. Yeah, at the time I was in a relationship, so I couldn't.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, look, these are the top 5. Number 1, I don't know if you remember, she used to work on Ricky Smiley's show, Ebony Steele. She was great on the air. She was very funny, and we were friends, so it would have been a great time. But there was some people trying to hate on her, so it really wasn't much her saying no. But at the same time, I wish things didn't happen in her life that prevented her from working with me, because people was hating big time. Number 2 on the list, LaToya Luckett. Now, I was really high on LaToya, because LaToya, I saw her on a couple of BET programs, and she was just on fire. And I kind of knew her through traveling with the Apollo or doing stuff. She wasn't with Destiny Child when I was the host, but I seen them when they came to the Apollo. So I was always familiar with her, always was shouting around. I think we even followed each other on Instagram. But guess what? She was in love with a dude that lived right up the street in Dallas. It didn't work out, unfortunately, but it would have been a great pairing. And I think they would have probably let me get that choice, because LaToya was that much better than the general manager would have had to choose her. Number 3 was Dee Dee McGuire herself. We had an opportunity to team back up, and it just didn't work out. That was my buddy. We fought like Martin and Pam, and we made a big impact on Doug's career as far as, having that team. We were the best team. I have to say that. And I think that was actually super dope. The last two, Swain is a young lady out of Louisiana, but by way of Chicago. And we bumped heads as soon as we worked together on the Doug show. They had her come over. And I was like, man, I'm sorry, Lonnie, because I know some people are in your ear. That's how radio is sometimes. You become the enemy of someone else's words and you kind of doing what somebody's telling you to do. It just didn't work for us. So I wish the best for her, but she was definitely, and she's my inspiration right now. I always get mocktails because I don't drink no more.
There you go.
She was always talking about mocktails and we would tease her, but now I'm the one being teased. So thank you for that. Last but not least, there's a young lady in Columbia, South Carolina. She goes by the name of Dee as well, Dee Renee. And she actually replaced Dee one time with Doug, and she's awesome. She gave me some information that's very helpful to me. Like, she's a true friend. She cares about my oldest daughter, watched her grow up, actually helped raise her with her twins. So I thought, even though she was a little older, we could have played that cougarish, funny thing. So yeah, shout out to her. And that's my top 5.
Rudy's top 5. Brought to you by the Joe Gorilla himself.
There you go. I'm sponsoring myself right now. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, you've had a good career. I think part 1, my Mount Rushmore was on comedy. You were honorable mention on that list.
Thank you.
I think now my Mount Rushmore should be media personalities / shows.
Wow.
My Mount Rushmore.
You only get 4.
Media personalities / shows. And I'm going to go radio and podcast this podcast.
Yeah. That counts.
No order, but I am going to start with my crib. Someone who has been an inspiration for me, and that is Charlamagne the God.
Okay. Yeah.
South Carolina stand-up. I mean, just what he has met, what he has done, and the consistency, the longevity is hard.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, I know not intimately, but I was very close to some of the people he worked with, like Wendy, and I was really friends with her. But then, my oldest daughter's mother who passed away, they were so close. He paid for her funeral. Like, I mean, I didn't have to lift a finger to try to help, nothing. They were really close. And so, I even called him afterwards, and we've seen each other out and about and stuff like that. But yeah, he's worked really hard to get to where he's at, and he's like at the top right now.
Totally agree, man.
I'll go with that. Yeah, I'll agree.
Charlamagne on my Rushmore. Yeah. Number 2, go with my guy Ricky Smiley.
Okay, Rip.
So I will be honest, man. Like, I don't listen to a lot of radio anymore.
Yeah.
I will definitely. I'm a Sirius XM guy. Always find time. So the Ricky Smiley
Yeah, so Ricky
I can promise you.
Yeah.
And Ricky got me through college sometimes. I needed Ricky in college because
with those prank phone calls and stuff like that.
Cash and sweet milk. Hey, does the chicken belong to the church? Y'all don't know about that.
Yeah.
Church is chicken with man. But just another person.
Ricky's good
from a human being standpoint.
Yeah, good dude.
Gotta rock it out.
Yeah.
Gotta rock. 3 and 4 are tough, man. Like, there's so many places I can go. 3, because we are in this podcast era and the way that game has changed, man. I think Joe Rogan kind of set the bar for what everybody is doing. Another comedian as well, too. I don't think he gets a lot of love, but I think there's a generation of people that don't understand the comedy that Joe Rogan had and all the other things.
No, Joe Rogan was funny. Well, to say it was, he is funny. I did a festival in Aspen, and I was blown away. I was like, because I thought he was just an actor on the sitcom. That dude's funny.
Yeah. Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
All the Mount Rushmore of media. We talked about radio podcasting. And number 4 on this list, man, I know somebody personally who's done a lot of radio, a lot of media. They told me when the numbers come out, they ain't never any worse than 3. You can give them any geography. It don't even have to be urban.
Yo.
He said, give me country western. We're going to be 1, 2, or 3.
Yo. And the only time I was number 3 was this.
Oh, wait. I have some of this person.
It's big. No.
Morgan Kane.
Look, my bad.
No. My God. Rudy Rush.
I'm sorry, man. I jumped in.
Media, radio, Mount Rushmore. because numbers don't lie. I'm a results person.
Send them in. I wish you would, because I got the receipt.
I was gonna say the young kids.
But no, man, it was fantastic doing it. I look forward to doing it here with you with this podcast. You know, we just getting started. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna have some great moments. We may have a bump here and there in the road. You know what I'm saying? But we try to keep everybody's attention and teach you something, because that leadership that you have, that punchline that I can come with, and you know, y'all didn't know that Mick had punchlines. So now we got a whole another.
Come on.
Yeah, no, you're great, bro. And so we're gonna have some fun, man. Yeah, we're on location right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So the Mickism for part 2.
Yeah.
My Mickism is this: give people their flowers.
Yes.
This dude right here is the GOAT. And that's why I love him. So give people their flowers. Now, I mean, we always talk about, again, the things we wish we could say, the moments we wish we could take back. I'm celebrating you because not only do I know where you've been, where you're going, but I know the character that you have. And you know, I have this saying, right? Your character is like a shadow that's seen before you walk.
Yeah.
Your character speaks for itself.
I appreciate you, brother. Yeah, man. Love you too, brother.
Sir.
Mean that, man. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm glad we got together to do this and we had the time to do it. You know, that's another thing that people don't understand. Like sometimes you can be prepared to do something and someone else is not.
Right.
And our lives actually just got to the point where we both are able to do something like this. And it's fun. You know, like I said, I can't wait to do more.
Sir. All right. Y'all get ready for the next episode. Make sure, do us a favor. Tell us what you like, what you don't like. If you have a topic you want us to talk about in a segment of a show, hit us up. If you want to sponsor a segment, you know, we wear swag too. Just let you know. We out here.
And if you want to help me create some beef for Mick instead of me all the time, I gotta fight Steve. I gotta fight Bill. I gotta fight Steve. I gotta fight Big Game. Oh, good. Okay, so we did it then. All right, that's what's up.
See, I just knock people out. Like, I don't have beef, bro. I'm a V-neck.
That's that Tar Heel.
Yes, sir. I take everything. We'll see y'all on the other side.
All right, y'all.
That's the power and the punchline. If this episode hit, do me a favor, rate it, review it, subscribe. That's how we keep these conversations coming. Power moves the room. The punchline makes it stick. I'm Rudy Rush. See you next time.